Hey everyone! Welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna lower this a little bit. If you're new here, my name's Teresa. I do videos on whatever I want because I don't like putting myself in a box. You're wondering why the quality is slightly better than it has been in the past. I just got a brand new MacBook. I honestly was not wanting to get one within the month. I wanted to wait until at least next month to get one, but that is why the quality is much better. So I'm going to jump right into this because honestly, this is a completely different video than what I normally do. But like I said in my intro, I do videos on whatever I want because I don't like putting myself in a box, even though I'm 4'11 due to a medical condition, and I probably literally could. So grab yourself a coffee. I have mine here. I got these Starbucks ones on Amazon. And let's get into this. So, I feel like most of you know that I am adopted. I don't think a lot of you know that I have a transracial adoption. So, that means my adopted parents are a different race than I am. So, I was adopted from India when I was 2 years old, and then I came here to America. So, my parents are above average parents, above age wise. Sure. My parents are older parents due to adoption rules. They have to be like a certain age. There's an age criteria, and so individually they have to be a certain age, and then like together they have to be like a certain age. So, I'm 25 and my parents are baby boomers. So they're early 60s. My mom is 62 and my dad is 64, I think. I don't know. But that's created a lot of stuff just for the sheer fact of them being baby boomers and having two kids that are technically millennials, and then me, who is technically Gen Z, even though I don't like to identify as Gen Z. So, anyways, when I came here to America, I was a very, very, very shy kid. It's hard to believe, honestly, because if you know me in real life, you obviously know like how outgoing I am and like peoply I am. I'm very extroverted. Even though even in real life I don't always come off as that. But I love being around people, and I grew up a theater kid, so I kind of like attention. So hard to believe, but I was really, really shy as a kid. And I got overwhelmed, I think, a lot as a kid. So the thing is, what I didn't realize is hang on, I do not care about this update right now. Do it later. So when I was 2, I already knew some stuff with India. Like, I already knew the people I was around. Obviously, at the age of 2, you're just learning your primary language. So I already knew some Indian, and from what I know, my language would have been Tamil. So I already knew some Tamil at that point. And then being 2 years old, having to come to America, and I'm sorry to say this is going to offend somebody out there, but coming and trying to figure out who the F all these white people are, um, that's a lot. And having to relearn in your brain, like, who can you trust, who you can't trust, what is family, who makes up family, and all of this just really basic stuff is just not there anymore. Um, if you're adopted, I hope this kind of makes sense because I feel like the way that I'm explaining it isn't going to make sense. So that is really good. So that's kind of that. And I always like my parents could literally just say no to me like that, or just no, you can't have that. And I would literally burst out crying. And that is a response to the trauma. So that's just a response, like I just said, to the trauma. So I don't know how really to explain that in a way that makes sense. But I think subconsciously, what was going on in my mind is, oh, they said no, then I'm not good enough for them. Then they're going to put me with a different family, whatever, even though I had no concept of what the hell adoption was at that time. So, yeah, I also, with my emotions, remind you, I did go through a rare um, condition called precocious puberty. So, that started around kindergarten, which is like 5 years old for kids. So, I had hormones running a little bit too early in life compared to most people. And so I cried a lot, and I still slightly do. But no, it always got played off as me being a very sensitive kid. And while that's true to some degree, and again, that kind of grew into empathy because of theater, I just hate how my parents were constantly like, well, you can't be scared of everybody. You can't be so sensitive just because somebody knows. You can't cry because somebody tells you no. And they did not understand adoption trauma because nobody explains it. And I should say everything that I'm about to say about my adoptive parents are things they already know. Um, So if there are some people that I personally know out here who feel the need to go tell my parents that I made this video, they already know. So don't waste your time and efforts. They already know. So yeah, I always got written off as being just the sensitive one and all of this stuff. When my siblings, who are also adopted, were old enough to start like teasing me and making fun of me, my parents really didn't do anything. They were just like, you need to stop it. They would make comments about my weight because I was always basically obese my entire life because of the precocious puberty. Um, and yeah, my parents really didn't do anything to actually stop what they were doing. Um, let's see. I'm trying to go through everything and it's just kind of a lot. So, my parents, like I said, transracial adoption is also meaning that you are a different race than your parents. And so it's very hard for my parents for multiple reasons, I feel like, to really understand and relate and switch their way of thinking because honestly, like I said in the beginning, my parents are 62 and like 64 years old, and I'm 25. And so for them, and especially my mom, because I do know once my grandma died, I did figure out she's very traditional with like European upbringing and stuff. My dad's not so much, but my mom's very like traditional, kind of has to be that this way. Um a little bit like super religious, but not quite. So it's very hard for them to like understand a completely different side of it, the other day. So I just actually, the reason why I'm doing this video is because I just did 23andMe. So I'm waiting on results for that, for the health portion, because as an adoptee, you don't know anything about your medical history. You don't know anything about, you know, I guess, yeah, medical history, your genetics, whatever. You don't know anything like that. And I remember kind of talking to my parents once about this, and they said, well, I just don't understand how, like, not how, but they're like, I just don't understand why you would want to know. And I'm just like, how ignorant of you guys to say, to be honest, because they can at least look at a blood relative and be like, okay, I might be at risk for this, and this. We can't do that. Their kids cannot do that. You know, my sister and I are both Indian, so physically we don't even look like our effing family. My brother, he can trick people because he is white and he's always been told like he looks like my adopted dad, but he still cannot do that because there is just a genetic difference there, and you cannot deny a child that, and you cannot take that away from them. There is genetic makeup there, and it's not theirs. Like, I understand, like I was kind of talking about this with my manager because I told her the same thing. I told her, yeah, I got 23andMe. I want answers, and she could relate because of her situation, which is obviously not my story to tell, but her situation. And I told her like how my parents kind of were reacting, and she said, I think with adopted parents, it's always that fear of like you're going to replace them. Now, I do know why my biological mother decided to put me up for adoption. Um RAPE situation. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but I have documentation. I'm staring at it. The only documentation from India that I ever have, and this is her statement. This actually isn't it. Why do I have the um oh, wait a minute. I didn't realize I had also the paper that can be used for like a birth certificate. That's the other thing with adoptees. We don't have our original birth certificate. So with adoption trauma, you can struggle with multiple things. The biggest things really is identity, rejection, which totally explains my like overreactive whateverness as a child, and a couple of other things. So this is the second, I guess, only paper that I have from my biological mom. India, I feel adoption agencies are really strict as is, and a lot of things are withheld from adoptees. But this is a document of surrender, and so she tells her situation in this. And from what I can tell, is there's a lot of trauma on both of our ends because obviously going through an RAPE situation is not easy, and there is trauma with that. So even if I wanted to like replace my family and like whatever, like I couldn't. I mean, I have to say, one of my friends who also grew up with just really shitty parents told me that family is not who you are adopted into. It's not who you're born into. It's who you choose. And I just think that is so, so true. Because for me, honestly, again, this is something my parents know. I don't give credit for my adopted parents for raising me. Straight up. They didn't. Literally, I turned a teenager and they really just gave up on me. Chuck it in the fucking bucket. That's basically what they did. And I spent a lot of time doing theater in high school, and that director of the program really became my dad. We've had multiple heart to heart conversations, and we've butted heads like a real actual father daughter relationship, and I've never had that with my actual dad. I mean, they put no effort into me, especially when I reached those teen years. And so I don't credit my parents for raising me because they didn't. I looked up to other people outside of my family because I didn't want to be like these people. I mean, I have to say, having I've always told them, I I wish I wasn't in this family. I do not wish that I wasn't up here where I am because I definitely would have not met the people that I have met. I just I regret being in this family, you know. And I don't even think I can say regret, but I don't want to be in this family. I don't want to be with them. I want to be with other people. My friend, their parents, we literally went to a bar with their parents, and their parents have been great, and we've had really good conversations, and I've just had so many female role models in my life that have been motherly figures to me in ways my birth birth mom, my adopted mom could not be. And a lot of it's due to just age. I'm sorry, but like F the baby boomers. They don't understand anything. Like, we talk about how we've talked about before how my generation is kind of like overusing the word trauma. And this is why I'm really, really cautious when I use the word trauma. But if you look at adoption and trauma, or just adoption in general, like it is a trauma because it's the separation of child and mother, like blood separation of child and mother, right? So when you're in utero, you know the way your mom walks, you pick up on her voice. If you were to hand a baby over to a stranger and let the mom walk away and the mom starts talking to the baby, even though the baby is staring at the stranger's face, if the mom, out of sight of the child, starts talking, the child's going to turn to the mom because that's what they realize. So this is the premise really of adoption and adoption trauma. So I think I just got off track a lot, but realistically, my parents did not raise me. They have told me multiple times as an adult that when you get to the third one, mind you, I'm the third, you really just don't care anymore. I addressed this with my mother once, and she, of course, wrote it off as it was a joke. And I straight up told her, I'm like, that's what we call gaslighting. And I told her, I was like, I know you think my generation is oversensitive and whatever, but it's not. Truthfully, it's not. We are just more aware of certain things that you guys can never be aware of because you just want to view it how you view it. And you don't even want to attempt to try and view it from a different side. I will say, and I will openly say this, and I've told my mom this, she is the most immature, emotionally immature person I've ever met in my life. The thing is, when you have older parents like I do, they say that if you have older parents, you'll have emotionally mature parents. No, no, I don't. My dad has been taught to hide his emotions and not show them because men can't show emotions. And even now in 2024, we're still working on that. But my mom is the most emotionally immature, emotional person I've ever met in my life. She bottles everything up. She's been through some serious shit with one of my older siblings of substance abuse, and she refuses to talk to anybody about it because she used to work in a nursing home and she knows that people talk, like the workers talk about your situation to other people. So confidentiality is not really confidentiality. But honestly, that's the reality of the world that we live in. I worked for Head Start for a couple months. And yeah, I talked about certain things to my coworker because they understood. They also were in a certain situation as well. But very rarely did it ever get outside of the people like working for the company because we can't really talk about it, but we have each other to lean on because let me admit, like it's a lot. In the short time that I was at Head Start, taking on some of those families was a lot. I really do not understand how social workers can just like some social workers, of course, can get all this insight into these awful, awful situations and then just drop it all and go home and easily be able to separate work and life, you know? So if you're a social worker out there, I have nothing but mad, mad respect for all of you because that shit is hard. So, yeah, this video was kind of all over the place. I don't want to ramble on too much. I am doing some workbooks that I found on Amazon to help kind of work through this because right now I don't have the money to go back to therapy. I've definitely contemplated it, but yeah, I do not have the money to go back to therapy right now. So yeah. Anyways, you guys, I think that's all for this video. Adoption trauma is a thing. If you've gone through it, if you're going through it, you're not alone. We all, I think all adoptees know the feelings, at least ones with closed adoptions, know the feeling of having another half missing from you and just never like it again. The fear of the unknown, honestly, is what I'm trying to get at. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to reach out to me and talk about your story, you're free to do so. If not, that's okay. I just wanted to make this video to share the other side of adoption. So often we paint it as this beautiful thing. And do not get me wrong, adoption can be really, really beautiful, but there is a harsh reality to it. And especially if you're like me, who was in a situation of abuse, which I don't think I have mentioned in this video, but once I did go to therapy and I saw multiple therapists, they all told me my adoptive mom is emotionally abusive. And so that's a lot to take in. And I know too, like my adoptive parents really didn't want a third kid. And so that has shown over the years. So I just want you to know you're not alone, especially if you are an adoptee and there's abuse going on in any way. You're not alone. There's support groups on Facebook that I recommend. There's a recovery one that I'm in. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick just so I can get some info out there for all of you. Not that one. I see posts from this like literally every 5 seconds, it feels like. So hang on, let me find that post. The group. Okay, so it's called Recovering Adult Survivors of Childhood Abuse and Trauma. And a lot of them are adopted as well. So there's one group. Let me see. I thought I'm in another one too. So the other one is Surviving Adoption Trauma Group. So that one looks like this. You can see that. The other one that I mentioned is this one as well. So feel free to join those groups. And yeah, I wish you all nothing but the best. Thank you for sticking through this video as I trauma dump basically on all of you. But this is a video I wanted to do for a while. So I hope you all have a good rest of your week. I promise there'll be different, happier content coming out later. There are some health things related to my weight loss that I'm going to talk to my doctor about and then probably share with you guys. So, yeah, stay tuned for that, and I'll see you all later. Bye.